Hello, computer scientists. We just got done working on our background, and I want you guys to find a round image that kind of goes with your theme of your background, if you will. And I had my starry night, if you will, for my background. So I went out to our free images. I gave you those resources in Schoology, and I found this. What I'm going to be looking for when you submit your raw image, I want to take a look at this image. I want you to find something round that has some data in the background, that has some RGB going on in the background as well, and you can see that this picture has all sorts of them. I don't want you to find something that's already completed for you. Then I also want you in the bottom right hand corner to make sure that the file type is a JPEG. Make sure you do that. If you don't see type here, again, through our previous tutorials, right click and choose type. Make sure that that is selected here. I want this to be a JPEG where we just are dealing with our 24-bit depth in our JPEG file. With that said, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my image here. I want you to rename this because whenever you find something off the internet, it always has some kind of funky name. And I just paused to click there. And I'm just going to change this to Moon because that's what I am going to get out of this. Now I'm going to ask you guys to go back to your breadcrumb here and go to your see-through that's on your desktop. And we're going to rename this folder. So I'm going to do a click, pause, click there. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to Moon-Sprite. And only items that are dealing with your Moon Sprite are going into here. I've had students put more documents about their background, other images in here. Only your Moon Sprite data should be in here or files. With that, you guys, I'm going to go to my raw now, and I've got my image right there, and I'm going to bring in my graphic image manipulation program, my GIMP program, and I'm going to drag over my image here. And all I did was, you guys, I actually took that off the screen. I had that in my raw format. I just clicked and dragged that right into there. That's all I did. All right. Now that I got that in there, you guys, I'm going to drag my folder over to the right, and I'm going to right away do a file, save as, right away. And I'm going to put this in I'm going to go back along my breadcrumbs. I'm not going to be in my raw anymore. This is going to be a GIMP file. And as you can see, the file extension .xcf, that is a GIMP file. So I want this to be in GIMP. So make sure that you are actually putting this in your GIMP file. And I'm going to choose Save. If I brought over my file management, go to my Moon Sprite here, go to my GIMP, that's there. This is the only file I should have in here. We should not have any type of file in your GIMP folder. Just your GIMP file, and that's it. Now with that said, we need to do some editing. So I'm going to go and choose Windows, and I want to bring up my toolbox. If yours is not already up, and just an FYI, I like to go ahead and resize my toolbox or whatnot. And I also need my dockable items, dialogues I should say, tool option. So I want to bring this up as well. First thing I want to do is do some cropping, you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my crop tool, and all I'm going to do is crop out some of those pixels that we don't need. And I'm holding my control key down right now, you guys, and I'm scrolling up on my keyboard, and I am actually increasing the size of this image, and I'm going to drag my scroll bars over, and now I can really kind of get in here and take a look at this and move those sides in that I need to, and press my delete key. Not good. I deleted what I had inside there. Control Z. I did that on purpose. Press your enter key. If you ever mess up on anything, Control Z will undo. You'll be utilizing that a lot. Control Z, that is. All right, so I've got that cropped. Now what I need to do, you guys, is right away is save that. So I like to do Control S on my keyboard. I've already saved it once. I use Control S all the time. I want to get rid of some of these colors around here, and we're going to actually be turning those into transparent pixels. So I'm going to choose this tool right here. This is your Select by Color tool. It selects regions with similar colors. And when I bring this over here and I start clicking, I want to make sure that these crazy wavy lines never get into the actual round image. Couple quick things. Take a look at my hand, if you will. I hold my shift key, excuse me. Do you see the plus? I can start clicking on more things now. If I wanted to undo that particular color, now I'm holding my control key down, you see a minus, I can undo that, and you can see how that now has gone away from my selection. But I'm actually going to hold my shift key down, you guys, and I'm going to start clicking around and try to get rid of some of these colors. If you ever start to see something appear inside of here, Control and then click it. If that doesn't work, if that doesn't get rid of it, Control Z, undo, and you'll get rid of it there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that here, and I'm going to press my delete key, I believe, and it gets information out of my background area. So I've got that all taken care of right away now, right away. Well, that selection's there. Don't get rid of your selection. Go to Color, Color to Alpha, and choose OK. And that then has turned those white pixels into transparency. Right away, Control S. I just saved up my work. Now I'm going to go, you guys, and choose Select None to get rid of those dancing crazy lines, because I need to now personally work on getting some of these pixels out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my eraser tool. And that's where my tool option is going to come into play. By default, you guys, it has this blurry one here. I like to use the solid color one. That's me personally. Also, if I put my mouse over here and start clicking and deleting things, again, Control Z is big. But do you see the size of my circle? That's only getting out 13 pixels inside of that circle. And I'm using my mouse right now. I'm just scrolling up. And if I increase this to, let's say, 62, do you see how many pixels I'm getting rid of now? And again, I'm going to Control Z to undo that. So you'll be playing around with the size of your pen, if you will, to delete things. I'm going to bring this down a little bit, because all I'm going to really do, you guys, is work around the outside of this here and try to get rid of some of those unused pixels that I don't need. And I can also, you guys, scroll in if you want to get a little bit more detailed and get rid of it. I use my Control key, I use my scroll, and I'm just going to work around the outside of this to get rid of those pixels that I don't need. Now you'll definitely see this come into play as I come to the bottom here. See all these pixels down here? I don't need them. You can get outside of the area here and work through and get rid of some of those pixels. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and as I work through getting rid of some of these pixels, and I'll be back with you here shortly. You don't need to watch me do all that work. Okay, here I'm back, you guys. I took all my pixels out. I'm going to do a Control S again to save up what I've done, and this is going to be important. You are a professional. You want your Sprite to look very nice for your clients. Maybe you're working on this for a client, for an app that you're building for somebody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export as. So I did a File, Export As. And we're going to want to set this as a PNG. Now we're bringing in that alpha channel we discussed about in class. We're going to add another bit of data, or byte, excuse me, 8 more bits with that alpha channel. And we want to choose, I'm just going to put this, you guys, because all I'm doing is to look to see if this is looking okay. So I'm just going to put this on my desktop. This is a trial and error. I'm not going to submit anything, and I'm going to choose Export. And by default, your Save Color Values from Transparent Pixels is turned on. Turn that off. Otherwise, your transparency will not work, and choose Export. That now appeared on my desktop, and I'm going to open that up and take a look. And I did this for a purpose, because I have some pixels down here that I did not get rid of. Sometimes you'll see pixels, you guys, out here as well that you may not have seen in your editing, but you didn't get rid of them all. And so you may have to go back in to get rid of those. If you see this right here as an example, I'm scrolling in, very hard to see, but this small little pixel right there is actually something I missed. I want to make sure I get rid of it. I can see 2 more right here. I'm going to have to go back in and edit that. And I'll be looking at those when you guys submit. So how do I do that? I'm just going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to bring this back up. And again, there were some pixels down here that I missed. I'm going to grab those. I'm going to work my way around here and get rid of that down there. Trim that off. Do a Control S. And in order to export this, you guys, I can use a shortcut key called Control E. And all it's doing is it's going to write over the one that I put on my desktop. So I'm going to do Control E. And now this thing on my desktop is a new one. I'm going to open that up. Well, maybe it's not. Let me try that again. File. Let me just choose Export to Moon. And hopefully that has cleared it up. And yes, it did. So that I can look at, and I'm going to increase the size and see I missed those couple dots. I'm going to have to go back in and edit. You may have to do this a couple times, but when you're all said and done, it'll be a nice looking round image. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So again, make your image look good. You probably have to go through a few iterations on that. So now you've done all that, your image is looking good, you may have to recrop this one more time because look I got pixels over here that I don't need. So grab your cropping tool, go ahead and drag across here, and then you can get a little bit more fine-tuned. You can bring that kind of in on that side. See those pixels I don't need? That's storage space. That's more downtime for people to download your actual application and everything. I can bring that in there, and I can bring some pixels out there, press my enter key, and I've brought that in a little bit more. So now I am going to press my Control S, and I'm getting ready to export this. Again, file size. I don't need this large moon for my app, for my tablet and stuff like that. Check out what we're going to do. Image. We're going to go down to scale image, and we're going to bring this down, and I'm just going to type in for my width 150, and I'm going to press my enter key. And what that does is it kind of keeps it to scale, if you will, so it's not too tall, not too wide. I got pretty lucky on mine. It's pretty close to being round. You don't have to change your height. Just keep that and don't turn this off, otherwise it won't do the scale. And choose scale. It brings it down to 150. Now I'm going to do a file, export as. Don't do it as a moon. Export as, because now I'm going to actually go into my desktop here, go to see-through. I'm in my moon sprite, and I'm going to put this in my final edit compressed for app. And I'm going to change the name from moon.png to moon_150px for 150 pixels, and it's going to go in my final edit compressed for app and choose export. And again, make sure that's turned off and choose export. Perfect. I'm going to do that a couple more times. Image, scale image, and I'm going to bring this down to 100 pixels wide. Press my enter key, choose scale, and now I'm going to do a file, export as, and I'm going to go to make sure it's there. It is. Change this from 150 to 100 and choose export. And I'm going to do this. Oh, there we go. And make sure that's turned off and export. And now I'm going to do this one more time. Image, scale image. I'm going to bring this down to 50 pixels. All right, press my enter key, choose scale, down to 50 pixels, file, export as, change this from 100 to 50, and export, Sometimes you got to click it a couple times, export, and there we are. Now what I'm going to do, you guys, it's going to ask me if I wanted to save changes. I'm actually going to close this, you guys. Please, after you've made those changes, do not save this right here. Discard these changes. Otherwise, it would save it as the small image. We don't want that. We want to keep actually the larger size that we were working on to begin with. So I'm going to choose discard. All right, now I'm going to go back to my folder here, and actually what I meant by that, if I open up my moon, it is still in this larger file size, but I'm going to close that, and I'm going to close that as well. And I'm going to go now, you guys, and look at my final compressed for app, and I've got my 3 file sizes here, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Here's my 50, here's my 100, and there's my 150. You can kind of see the moon growing. All right, and it's really still, the image is sharp and clear. It's not pixelated. If you started at 75 and rescaled it up to 100 and then rescaled it up to 150, that would, when you got to 150, this would look very pixelated, and we don't want to do that. That's why we started at 150 and worked our way down. Let me look at our file sizes here. So we have the PNG. Our 50 pixels is at 6 kilobytes. Our 100 at 19, and our 150 at 38. You can see that the file size has increased. So when you are working on your app, try your smallest one first. If that one doesn't look so well in your app, go up to the 100. All right, and take a look at that. So what are we going to actually submit for this project? Well, in the same Dropbox, I want your raw image, and I want it renamed. So you're going to submit this one. In that same Dropbox, I also want your GIMP file. All right, your XCF, if you will. I want this. And I also want these 3 here. So you'll submit all 3 of them. So you're actually going to have 5 things in your round Sprite Dropbox. And in my case, mine is the moon. So I'll be submitting all of that. I'll be looking at all of those documents. So if you have any questions or anything in regards to that, please ask. But again, we'll be submitting 5 items into our round Sprite Dropbox. Okay, you guys, our next project, we're going to be working on a more detailed Sprite, if you will. So we're going to have a new folder down here, and we're going to find something a little bit more detail in it. So stay tuned.